My name is Parker Johnson.
I'm Idrissa Gassama.
I'm Faiza Naderi.
Shema Celestin.
Alejandra Lara.
Dani Cardenas.
Siavash Madani.
Isa Mihares.
Yasmin Barakat.
Welcome to I Am More Than the Immigrant You Had in Mind podcast. I'm your host Yannick Oho Bambe, and in every episode we dive into the powerful, often untold stories of immigrants who are shaping this country and beyond. Stories that go far beyond the stereotypes, the labels, and the quick assumptions we often make. We define ourselves through our identities. And I have to insist with identities in the plural form, because the more we realize that we are living in a world that is becoming increasingly global, connected and diverse, a world in which more and more people that are different will have to interact with one another, the more it will become evident that there is a very high proportion of us for whom the notion of identity will not only become very complex, but who will inevitably struggle to adjust to the reality of the complexity of their identities. I have to say, I am a perfect example of that person that I've just described. Indeed, I have struggled for a long time to define myself after my immersion in different cultures has turned me into someone who not only can identify with multiple cultural identities, but also someone who's very keen on taking advantage of the best of all of the worlds that I have been exposed to. It took a lot of self-reflection for me to begin to embrace the fullness of who I am and see it as a gift to be shared with others. But the reality is that not many of us share a similar experience or mindset when it comes to managing the tensions arising from being an anomaly when it comes to defining who we are. For the many who may still struggle to manage that tension, being able to share their stories, reflect on who they are in a non-judgmental, safe space, almost becomes cathartic, as this exercise can allow them to get the best possible perception of self and also begin to embrace themselves in the fullness of who they are. And more importantly, along the way, become aware of the commonalities that we all have with our fellow human beings. This platform was born out of the desire to be such a space. Each episode offering a glimpse into someone's world, showing that their immigrant experience is only one chapter in a much bigger, more complex story. It is a story about resilience, transformation, and the way we navigate our identities in a globalized world. We welcome you to this galaxy of stories, each one a star, shining brightly in its own unique way. You are free to choose your path on this journey, to listen in any sequence you like, because every episode stands on its own, offering something distinct and powerful that will shift the way you think about what it means to be an immigrant. I am more than the immigrant you had in mind upon our first encounter. Much more than my accent, which tells the story of my life and invites you on a journey to the many places that I call home. From the river bank of the Vouré River in Douala, Cameroon, to the mountain sites in Port Coquitlam, through the beautiful Paris, the city of light, the historical landmarks which can be seen from the Thames River in London, and Atlanta, home of the great Martin Luther King. I have often replied when asked where home is for me, that home is synonymous with a certain joy that I find when I'm around my folks, and we share some laughter, smiles, and create happy memories. And more importantly, home to me is synonymous with my people, people from a certain tribe, masters of a language that we call the language of the heart, because it helps those who communicate with it to connect in a very deep and meaningful manner with their fellow human beings. I am more than an immigrant. I am more than my accent, which tells the story of my life. From the river bank of the Vouré River in Douala, Cameroon, to the mountain sites in Port Coquitlam, through the lights of Paris and its beautiful, beautiful streets, the historical landmarks which can be seen from the Thames River in London, and Atlanta, home of the great Martin Luther King. I am just a human being who has a dream like Martin Luther of a world where what matters the most is to take down brick by brick the wall of unconscious bias about others, which all too often prevents us from seeing eye to eye with our fellow human beings. And what matters the most is to create meaningful and deep connections with one another. Yes, I am more than the immigrant you had in mind upon our first encounter. I am more than the immigrant you had in mind upon our first encounter. I am more than the immigrant you had in mind upon our first encounter. Just a human being to whom what matters the most is to create meaningful connections with my brothers and sisters from my big human family. I am more than an immigrant, more than the immigrant you had in mind upon our first encounter.